Welcome to the VET SOS Veteran Entrepreneur Spotlight. Remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET SOS Lifeline. The Veteran Entrepreneur Spotlight is sponsored by SpearPoint Solutions. SpearPoint Solutions is a one-stop shop for leading-edge products, services, and training from multiple vendors. From AI training to corporate gifts and much more, they have everything you need to help your organization thrive in the modern economy. You can check out all their valuable offerings at spearpointonline.com. And don't forget to use the code VETSOS to help support our mission and what we're trying to do here with VETSOS. Today we got Kay's Alali, who is the founder of Med Consulting Solutions, bringing a distinguished record in healthcare and private equity, offering premier fractional COO and CFO services. Known for his exceptional leadership, Kay's has successfully managed revenue cycles up to $100 million and developed over 200,000 square feet of state-of-the-art medical facilities. His expertise spans multi-specialty practices in ambulatory surgery centers, where he has overseen 120,000 surgical procedures and provided comprehensive accreditation and credentialing services. Kay's is recognized for his unwavering commitment to team building, innovation, and excellence, establishing himself as a leader who foregoes strong connections with patients, providers, employees, and investors. Kay holds an MS in Health Science Global Health and an MA in Management, and is currently completing his Executive MBA. How you doing today, Case?
I'm doing good. How are you, Sean?
Not too bad. Not too bad at all. So let's start with the military transition. How did that whole process go for you?
So my last position was at R North, part of Service Component Command of Northcom. And before I got out, I decided to take advice of a friend of mine. He says, hey, why don't you do the same thing you do in the Army? Staff your resume. So for about 6 months, I staffed my resume among veterans and also among business leaders in healthcare, as well as recruiters in healthcare. And it was a 6-month process, and that really paid off because that made my transition so much easier. So when I posted my resume, after 6 months of staffing the product, it was ready to go. All of a sudden, I got a whole bunch of interviews, and I had 3 different offers. And the offer that I took was in Tampa, and it had a military connection. His name was Chris Throckmorton. His grandfather was, of course, General Throckmorton, whom the library at Fort Bragg, which is now, I guess, Fort Liberty, was named after him. His dad was a retired officer as well. And so I had 3 different offers. I said, you know what, I'll go with what I know. I trust Chris because he comes from a military family. So I just decided to do that. And then I stayed with them until we went public. And then from there, I jumped in another private equity group, family office, and then the sovereign fund. After all is said and done, after gaining all that experience, I decided to go and take the plunge and do the risk and start my own company.
Okay. So that's a great segue. So tell us about this entrepreneurial journey. You know, what led you to that, and you know, some of the things you went through trying to start it.
So, my advantage, I think, was because, in the Army, I was a medical service corps officer. So a lot of the skills that I had as a medical service corps officer in healthcare administration, as a healthcare administrator, transitioned well into the civilian workforce. But I can tell you this, so even though I transitioned well, it took me a while to figure out that, over 20 plus years in the service, we're drilled this ethos of selfless service. And so when I started my company, I started with the ethos of self-service, of course, but I also learned the skill from the private sector is when it comes to marketing, that doesn't transition well, selfless service, right? You got to add something else on top of selfless service, and what you need to add is the value that you bring to your prospective customers. So when I started my company, had the self-service ethos, but then the skills that I gained from the private equity world of marketing yourself, I think in today's world it's called personal branding. It's so important. So whether you when you retire from the Army and join a contracting workforce or start your own company, as you well know there, Sean, the personal branding aspect is very important. And for Met Consulting Solutions, the personal branding is a very important component. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but that's one of the lessons I learned early on when I started the company.
Okay, so what's been the best part so far about being an entrepreneur?
So controlling your own destiny has been the best part. You work the vision, you set the mission, you set the vision, and I get to work that, bring that to fruition, the mission and the vision. So that independence that I have is for me is very refreshing. 20 plus years, you're told to be where you need to be at, do what you need to do, right? If any discussion is going to be in the planning process, but once the planning process is complete, 6 bags full and move on. For me, is after 20 some years is having that independence of doing what I really want to do. And I got to listen to my customers, but at the end of the day, I can always tell my customers, no, thank you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You do definitely have that freedom. So what's been the worst part so far?
So the worst part is the risk part, right? You don't have a guaranteed stream of income, right? So, in the military, you can always rely on a steady stream of income. If you retire and join the federal workforce, steady stream of income. You join a private equity group like I did, or civilian workforce, steady stream of income. Once you give that up, once you give that steady stream of income up, and decide to become an entrepreneur and start your own company, you have the freedom, the personal freedom, but then the payoff or the risk is not having that steady stream of income. So you always have to look down the road for the next contract, so to speak.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, so as you were starting this journey, or maybe even after you started this journey, are there any entrepreneurial programs that you participated in? Anything that you did to try to increase your knowledge, help your organization, that type of thing?
Yeah, so I belong to a couple of different organizations. One of the organizations I belong to is the ambulatory surgery world. It's called ASCA, and you have your annual meetings, you have your quarterly meetings. You can hop online for various podcasts, and also joined a couple of societies as well. Being in the surgery space, one of the societies that sometimes I'll go to their conferences is, for example, the Florida Institute of Pain Medicine, Interventional Pain Medicine. So you got to stay current, and the only way to stay current is to participate in the continuing education programs and societies that your business is in.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's staying current, especially in specialty fields, is really important, right? You have to, understand the changes that are happening, technology and what have you. So definitely glad to hear you doing that. All right. So look, tell us about Med Consulting Solutions. So what exactly are you doing with this organization, and where are you heading with it?
So what I do with Med Consulting Solutions is provide solutions to in the healthcare field, a lot of independent practices are part of large practices or hospital systems. So the independent practice is a dying breed. And then the ambulatory surgery centers, these are standalone surgery centers. The first surgery center was started in Arizona back in 1972. 2/3 of the surgery centers in the United States, there's 6,000 Medicare certified surgery centers in the United States. 2/3 of them are independent, and 1/3 are controlled by health systems. So what I bring to the table is, if a physician practice or a surgery center is bringing $3 million in annual revenue, 4 million, 5 million, 20 million in annual revenue, they really don't have, and they cannot afford, a permanent full-time chief financial officer, chief operating officer. They fall into that gray zone area. So my niche is, I go in that gray zone area. After those independent practices, they're not too small, because if you're too small, then that physician owner can handle the span of, can handle the employees and has that span of control. But then once he grows beyond that 5 million in revenue and all the way up to 20 million, he loses that span of control, but yet he cannot afford a full-time COO and a full-time CFO. And what I bring to the table is, hey, I'll bridge that gap, and I'll bring that expertise of the CFO, the expertise of COO, and it's not a consulting arrangement, but it's actually a management arrangement. And then they pay a fraction of cost what it would cost them to hire 2 FTEs, a COO and a CFO. Once they go beyond 20 million, then they have that bandwidth to hire those individuals. So that's where I focus in on those independent physicians practices and independent surgery centers, in that sweet spot where they're span of control, they've lost it, but not large enough for them to employ a full-time CFO and a COO.
Outstanding. Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot more of that these days, and I think smaller businesses are definitely benefiting from this type of service. So that is phenomenal. So what advice would you give to veteran and veteran spouses who are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur?
I'd say one is you got to do your research. You got to figure out who's going to be your audience, who are you going to market to. You got to do the research. So in the business world, we'll call it the SWOT, right? So you got to do that analysis, peel the onion back, figure out what are you offering, who your market is, who your competitors are, what's the regulations in that particular space, and then do a needs analysis, and then figure out what's missing for that particular niche market. So in my case, what was missing is, I figured out between 5 and 20 million. What's missing is a full-time COO and CFO. So I said, okay, fine, I'll provide that service. So for a startup, same analysis, figure out what you want to do, what the market's offering, and what are the shortfalls that you can bring to the table and mitigate those shortfalls.
That is fantastic advice. All right, so what's the best place for our audience to connect with you and to check out your business?
LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. I think that's how you and I connected.
Absolutely.
And of course, I have my website, metconsultingsolutions.com. But LinkedIn is the best way to get a hold of me.
Outstanding. All right, Kay, so we want to thank you for joining us today on VES SOS. And on behalf of the entire VES SOS family, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. You can find VES SOS podcast on all your favorite podcast platforms, YouTube, and all social media platforms. Make sure to subscribe and follow VES SOS so you don't miss anything. And remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VES SOS lifeline.